later. All right, you're good to go.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Belle. Really excited to be here today. I'll be doing a quick introduction to Canva and some designing tips and stuff like that. And we'll be doing the first 5 to 20 minutes-ish. It's just some design rules and different things, but then we'll be doing a design together. So before we get started, I hope everyone can just create a Canva account. So to create a Canva account, all you have to do is go to canva.com and then create an account. So Canva is this free online platform that basically allows you to very easily design things. And I have a few mentors that I look up to with graphic design, and they didn't know Canva existed, and they think that Canva just lowers the barriers to designing for a lot of people. So I would that's why we're actually using this tool and talking about it today. So I'll start sharing my screen, but like I said, I would 100% recommend you follow along by creating an account. So just sign up right here. This is completely free, and Canva actually has Canva has pro accounts and different accounts as well, but that's not necessary for today's workshop. Okay. Okay, so I'll give you guys 5 minutes to create your Canva account. Like I said, you can just click sign up, log in. Pretty sure you can do it with email or something as well. And yeah, so here are a few things that you can create with Canva. There are presentations, social media posts, a ton of things. I personally use Canva quite a lot, and I'll talk a little bit more about when I use Canva, when I don't use Canva a little bit later in today's session, but now it's just the time for you guys to create an account. And also feel free to turn on your cameras if you want, and keep yourself unmuted. We don't have a lot of people here today, so it can just be super chill, super informal, and let's just have fun designing. Okay. I'm gonna move into my presentation. Okay, so okay, does anyone have any problems creating a Canva account right now? You can let me know in the chat and jump on the mic. If not, we can proceed. Okay, awesome. So thank you for applying. So welcome to Introduction to Canva, Designing with Canva. And I made this slide in Canva. Obviously, it would be ironic if I did it in any other platform. So here it is. And today we'll be covering a few things. First of all, some graphic design rules, which include layout hierarchy and color theory. And then we'll do a quick design together where I'll be screen sharing as we design, and then I encourage you to do it along with me, and then we'll go through basic Canva features, using templates, creating templates, and a ton of other things that I think will be really helpful and useful to cover. And hopefully by the end of the workshop, you'll be able to become a mini Canva master and start making your own designs when you need to. And that can include for when you're creating some sort of personal branding stuff, a poster for your school, presentations, just really leveling up different things. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, keep in mind that designing and I think creating, the most important things within designing and graphic design and just utilizing Canva is 3 main things. First of all, it's about being able to communicate, which means that you want to value communicating over any other visually appealing sort of things, which means that if I have an idea for a design, but it won't be able to appropriately communicate the ideas, then it's probably not going to be a good design, even though it can be very visually appealing. So that's the first thing I want to talk about, which is knowing the purpose of your design is really important. And then the second thing is sometimes less is more. Sometimes you don't have to have really complicated designs or have to have really elaborate designs for it to look amazing, for it to do its job. And sometimes having a more clean and more like a design with more white space, for example, can actually elevate your design. And so that's just something to keep in mind as well. And the way you do that, I'll talk about later. And finally, know your brand and your client. So know who you're designing for and what you're trying to communicate. So that's like really important. Why do you want to know your brand? If you're designing, say, for a school, your club, for yourself, you need to know what sort of like message are you trying to communicate? What's your vibe? What's your color palette? What sort of things represent who you are? And in terms of your client, if you're designing for a kid, it's not going to be the same thing as designing for an adult. Like knowing your client and who your end ideal user slash target audience will be is really important too. So those three things are just something I think will be really important to keep in mind. So let's move on. Let's do a quick overview of layout. So layout is basically deciding the way elements are placed within a design. And a good thing to think about when deciding the layout of a design is one, figure out the focal point of the design. And what the focal point is, it's the main thing within the design. What do you want the attention to be drawn to? And normally that is either some sort of like action item, which is like sign up here, or some sort of information. And a really good example of this, like I guess would, if you think about a poster and you have an illustration, if the illustration itself doesn't really tell your target audience anything about what you're trying to communicate, and it's a supplementary thing, you probably don't want to make that your focal point. Instead, you want that information to be this focal point. So that's just something to keep in mind in terms of like when deciding the layout. And the second thing is just to ensure that your design looks balanced in terms of ratio. So if you, for example, we have three different very common ratios right here. This is a 1-to-1 ratio, a 3-to-1 ratio, and a 2-to-3 ratio, something like that. And what the difference, oh, this is a 1-to-3 ratio, yeah. So what the difference between these different ratios are, it's just the way that elements are grouped within the design. And when we start designing ourselves, we'll be able to look at the different ways their layout is being displayed and shown through different templates, etc. And the reason why having a balanced design is important is because people and users, we often look towards symmetry, and symmetry can be found not only when things are exactly the same left to right, it can be found when there is a general pattern that makes your design look comfortable and soothing to the eye. I don't know if that's a better terminology or like way of describing it, but that's how I would explain it. So these are just some common layouts. And one way of like, but do know that like you can always break out layouts. These are just general things to start off from, but they're definitely not rules. And also in terms of having a balanced design, it just means if you generally have a 1-to-1 ratio, don't have a 0.6 to 0.4 ratio. Like make sure you're intentionally designing and intentionally placing elements on your screens. Okay. So the next thing is, let's take a look at a layout. So this is the rule of thirds. And the rule of thirds is basically just dividing your layout or your design into like grids of 3. And then according to this graph, it basically tells you where the user's focus will be. And it's at the intersection of these grids. And this actually has applications within photography, for example, as well. So let me see if I can escape this and do a quick loop. Okay, let's see if we can do rules of third photography. So this is actually prominent within photography as well, which I didn't really notice, but it's kind of cool when you think about it. So the intersections of these grids is where the user normally place their attention on. So these like 4 dots, and hence you will have most of the, like, if you want a photo to like be appealing and to look really well ratioed, you normally have the most important thing at one of those points. So for example, with this dog, it's right here. With this like couple, it's right here. Yeah, I hope you guys can kind of see the example. And so it's just like a really, really cool thing, because sometimes, you know, like maths and science and all the other schmodazzle things really goes into helping us like decide and give an insight into how humans think and work and what we like and stuff like that. So that's just a quick thing. So you might notice that we're jumping through a lot of things because these are just like really basic introductions to kind of like just have something to think about while we go through like an actual practical, because I think that's probably the most important part of today. Yeah, so that's what grids are for. But this is just a general overview. If you guys are interested, definitely do go and search more about it. So visual hierarchy is basically the practice of arranging elements on the screen in order to convey what is important. And that basically means knowing what you want to convey and what you want to highlight to your user, and then using different things like color, size, color, size, white space, contrast, repetition, proximity, some other stuff, like all those different elements in order to convey what's important. And we categorize that under visual hierarchy. And the way you can remember is just visual is what you see, and then hierarchy is just organization of like top to bottom, what's most important. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So lot size. A large text is always more important and more attractive to a user's eyes and attention. So if you have something that's really important, make it super big. That's the big text that's supposed to be within your design. With color, the more contrasting or the darker your colors, the more attention is being drawn upon it. However, if your design has a dark background, then the lighter your colors, the more important it is. So generally, we just measure it in terms of contrast, and you can see it in terms of like these two texts. Like once you saw the design, what was the first thing that you looked at? I hope it's this top one, because that's what I looked at first too. And that's just an explanation or display of visual hierarchy. And then the next thing is scale as well. So with scale, we're using size to convey what is more important, the size of the elements to convey what is most important within your design. And scale is normally like displayed through like when you have small boxes of just like additional information, as opposed to a large box of like really important and key information. So that really differs. And besides like, so I guess that's like a general thing. The larger it is, then the more obvious it is to the like audience as well, which is, oh yes, thank you. Yeah, boldness is also another way of conveying it, just because it's thicker so that it is larger, and the color is also darker. So I guess the next thing is just repetition and proximity. And repetition and proximity, these two things are basically a way of conveying to the user that these things are similar. And why do you want to convey to a user that it's similar? Well, when you're giving options, when you're giving bullet points, for example, you normally want to let the user know, hey, all of this comes together and this is what I'm talking about. And that's really important, one, because it tells the user what to expect next. And secondly, it tells the user where things are and what to expect. If you think about it, like you rarely ever see buttons on all four corners of a website. They're normally centralized in one place. Like social icons, for example, they're normally all together in one place. They don't have to be, but they are, because we innately group social like media links and all of them together as one thing. And so when a user visits the website, they expect to find it together. And so you're using proximity, and like you're using proximity to show that these things are related, and you can find other similar things here. And within graphic design, for example, a method of repetition could be, say, if you had like the date, the location, and stuff like that. If you have it together, then they know, hey, this is where all the important information is, as opposed to like all around the design where they don't exactly know where to look. Okay, so visual hierarchy is definitely really interesting. I would 100% recommend looking into it. And the next thing, while we're doing well in terms of time. The next thing is just color theory. And color theory is the science and art of color, which is really cool. I think color theory is like really, really, really interesting. I actually like recently learned about it's something similar in science class as well, but basically color theory can affect what sort of colors you put within your design. You don't want colors that conflict with each other because they basically color is very important within design, and having conflicting colors can lead to the design feeling distasteful or feeling harsh. Exactly like Anthony mentioned, and there are different sort of like things that you can work from. This monochromatic, which means same color, like of different shades of the same color, and then there's analogous, which is basically similar colors. So like yellow easily relates to orange and then green and stuff like that. So like a similar sort of color. And then there's complementary colors, which is opposite of each other on the color wheel, and they have really good contrast. There's also split complementary, and there's like triad, and triad is basically evenly spaced around the color wheel. And there's tetradic, which is like that, which is also evenly spaced around the color wheel. So you don't have to reference a color wheel every single time you want to pick a color, but it is like a way of knowing whether a color generally works, and it's a very quick way of being able to pick colors that work as well. And I generally don't always look at the color wheel when I'm designing, but when I want to look for some inspiration or some really cool things that we can contrast with, I do look towards it. Okay, so I guess that's kind of the end of like a quick introduction to a few things that I think can help when you're looking into graphic design. This is in no ways like a summary of everything. This is really just like barely scraping the surface, but I hope that helped a little bit. So now we get to do the fun thing, which is design together. Okay, let's escape here. I'm gonna do a quick rundown of what I did to create these slides first, just so you can kind of see like with Canva, you can actually do quite a lot of things. And then after that, we'll do a design together. Okay, so first of all, this is actually an image because I decided not to actually do build out the individual icons and stuff like that. I weighed the pros and cons, and I was like, okay, a screenshot works. But with all the other things, these elements actually come from this element tab right here. And for example, circle, and I can find like circle elements. So that's one thing that's really helpful about Canva that you don't really find in something else like Adobe Illustrator or Figma, etc., which is just like built-in library of really, really helpful like pre-built designs and stuff like that, illustrations, images, etc. So all of this came from Canva. And then to create something like a box, you can literally just type something like a box, and then you can reshape and all of that stuff, which is also really helpful. So that's kind of how this was made. With all of this icons, these came from actually another presentation template. And what I did was I took that design and then I edited it to fit within the smaller design. And all of these are also elements, and we just cropped it so that it fit the screen. There's a ton of different sort of like texts and headings, subheadings, different fonts, different font sizes, different font types. So there's effects, hollow, none, for example. Yeah, and then with images, you can easily add your own images by going to uploads and then uploading an image and then dragging it over. And yeah, basically that's a quick overview of what it took to make this. And hopefully we can do something similar as well, but we'll do like a one that we can do very quickly in about 20 to 30 minutes. So I hope you guys are excited about this. I am. So let's talk about what today we're going to be designing. Basically, we're going to design a poster to encourage people to join Hackmafest, even though we're way after the registration deadline and it's almost ending, but that's the plan. This is what we're gonna do. So we're gonna go to their website, steal some information, and then we're gonna make our post. So that should be exciting. I'm going to reshare this link in the chat for anyone that wants to follow along with the design process. I have a few key things I kind of want to highlight of different features about Canva. So I would 100% recommend you guys follow along just so you can have some practical, like, I guess, experience. And if you have any other things about Canva that you kind of want to share about like graphic design or anything in general, feel free to just share it. This is like a free space and we're all just like having fun and designing. Okay, so let's get started here. Cool. I'm gonna start with creating an Instagram post because that's super easy. And the way you create an, I'm sorry, I forgot. Okay, so the way you create an Instagram post is once you have an account, all you have to do is go to create design and then select the type of design that you want. So that's really, really helpful. Or another way of starting is basically just like clicking something like this and then clicking right here. So there are multiple ways of going about it, but I normally start with create a design and then choose the layout that I want. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys some time to do that. And in the meantime, I'm gonna rename this. Okay, can someone give a thumbs up once you guys are able to get on this page so that we can follow along together? Okay, cool. Thank you, Anthony. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about what we have on this page. There's quite a lot going on. A quick breakdown. All of these things on the tabs are basically what you need today to create any design. The templates page is really helpful if you want to get started quickly. The one thing I would recommend against using Canva templates, it depends on you, but the only time I would recommend against it is if you want to develop a brand identity, or because Canva templates, if they're accessible to you, they're accessible to everyone else that's using Canva too, which means you can actually often see quite a repeat in designs, which isn't necessarily bad. But if you want to develop a unique branding, then maybe creating your own templates that you utilize might be more helpful, or using templates that you don't see on the front page, but really scrolling down, or just like massively editing it to make it completely your own. However, today we're not going to be doing that. Today we'll just be starting with a template because the Canva templates are actually really, really good. Yeah. Okay, so let's do that. And the next thing we have is elements. So what are elements? They're basically like you have stuff like shapes, graphics, and photos and videos. So those are kind of the four main things. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. If they're paid, you need Canva Pro in order to unlock it. If you use Canva very often, I would really recommend doing it because you can upload your own fonts. You can create a branding sort of guide to easily just drag and drop colors, and you can add logos, and yeah, there's a ton of really good things that come with Canva Pro. But I personally don't use it enough to justify paying for it. But yeah, it's up to all of you. Oh, yes, thank you, Farhan. Okay, so the next thing is just all of this stuff. I will be showing how we can utilize all of that later on, but this is just a quick overview. Next thing is upload. So to upload something, all you gotta do is drag and drop something. So let's see if I have something I can drag and drop right now that doesn't feel okay. I have a random screenshot of a really cool website that I saw. So all I did was drag and drop it in here, and I just clicked it, and now we have it. So that's like super easy to do. And then if you're on maybe Windows or something and you can't drag and drop, all you have to do is just upload media and then select from your folders. The next thing is text. And this is something that I found really, really cool about Canva, which is they have really, really like, do you guys see all of these different fonts? Like that's insane. Also, Canva actually has pairing fonts, fonts that they pair together, such as this, which can really help when you're just trying to get started. And I found it really, really helpful. Something like this can basically form the basis of your design too. So yeah, so this is the text type. And then with everything else in Canva, you have more, and that's just like, I rarely come in here. So I guess we can get started with the design. Oh, a few other things. If you want to change the color of Canvas, like artboard itself, you basically change it here. So you have to click on this outer ring and softly click on it, and then click on the color tab, and then you can pick whichever color works for you. And then if you want to customize your own color, just click add a new color, and you can play around with this, and you can change the hex code as well. Okay. So that's just one really quick thing. And another really cool thing is if you search something like pink, it gives you a ton of its like pre-built sort of color palettes, and then also helps you find all the different colors that you want. So you can also directly type a hex code in here. I don't know, is this a legit hex code? Yeah, probably. Oh my god, it is. Okay, so this is a random hex code that I just typed, but yeah, you can also do something like this. And then in terms of sharing your work, you have edit to use a template to view. I'll review what those are. And the most common ones that you probably will use is actually downloading it. So you can select the file type and download it. Okay, I guess let's get started with all of this. Okay, we have 30 minutes left. First of all, we want to design for Hackmafest. So in order to find an appropriate design, like I mentioned before, we want to think about who Hackmafest is and who the target audience is. And since Hackmafest is a hackathon, so I'll probably look at something like tech or students or coding. So you can take a look at all of these really, really cool designs just came out. However, take a look at all of these clowns. These are locked by Canva Pro, so you actually can't use the templates unless you use it, but that's not like a big problem at all. There are always a ton of other designs that you can utilize. So let's scroll, and you can pick one that you like in your own design. And I think what I'll go with is this one. I really like how clean it looks and the layering and all of that. So yeah, Canva templates are insane. They're really, really helpful too. Okay, so now that we have this, want to go back to Hackmafest's website and take a look at this. So obviously Hackmafest has a lot of purple going on their page. They have this sort of like topographic background. So let's see if we can actually replicate that. So I'm gonna just inspect it. Okay, y'all, you gotta give me a second because my computer's dying. But let's inspect it. So now that we have the color, oh, okay. Wait, do y'all see the color? I see it. Wait, E20D88. Okay. So let's come here. Let's change the color first. So we just click on this color tab. E2, oh, I just forgot it. 3DFF or something. Nope, that's not the color. Okay. E320D88. Wow, I missed that completely. Okay, 320D88. Okay, great. So now we have Hackmafest's color. It feels a little bit dark, but we'll see if we want to go with that later on. Maybe we'll change it to white. So that's just stealing a little bit of their thing. Let's take a look at what this font is to see if we have it within Canva. By the way, for people that don't know, I just clicked the inspect element on Chrome. You can do the same on whichever browser that you're using. Okay. Let's see. Font. Nunito. Interesting. Okay, so now we want to come over here, and if we click on this any text, we click on the text type, we will be led to this option. And then now let's try and see if we have the font. We do. Okay, awesome. So we definitely have to change it because, like I mentioned, sometimes it's about following the brand. And if we are trying to promote a hackathon, we want to make it look like the hackathon designed it and not some random stranger on a workshop. Okay, so I think they used bold, so that's cool. I think it looks pretty similar. Okay, so next thing we want to do is change out all of the fonts and into something that they use. Okay. So all you have to do is to select multiple elements. What you want to do is click on your screen, hold down Shift, and then select all the other texts. Okay. And let's select Nuni. So maybe Sans bowl. I kind of like Sans more. Okay. So just a quick recap for everyone. So far what we did was basically we selected a template, we went to Hackmafest website, click inspect, found the color and the font, and then we imported it here. And we haven't done anything else yet. So would it be possible to get a quick thumbs up if you guys are following? If there's anything you want me to repeat or explain, I'd be happy to do so right now. Okay, cool. I will take that as an okay. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, cool. So let's move on to the next thing. First of all, I think this green thing looks awesome, except it's a little bit distracting and does not go out with the purple, I personally think, although some people might disagree. So what I will actually do is I clicked on the element, click on the color, on document color, and now I'm going to select something that fades a little bit better. So maybe white, and then I will come over to this transparency, which is all the way on this top bar. There's a fading checkers sort of thing on transparency, and I'll probably pull it down a little bit to make it less obvious, but somewhere in the background. And probably will replace it with a topological design later on if possible. Okay. So that's what we did. The next thing we want to do is actually, I will take this element and I will actually remove it for now because I feel like it's a little bit distracting, and then change these to white. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we want to decide what we actually want to say, because sometimes, like often, graphic design is not only about the design itself, but it's also about the copy, which is actually what you write. So first of all, we want to do this, and we want to type Hackmafest present. Okay. And instead of this spinning ball that doesn't really mean anything, let's see if we can find something to take away. Okay, no worries. So we're gonna take this, and so we're going to take right Hackmafest and pull it all the way to the corner. One of the things you'll notice right now is that this design has a lot of elements, and oh yeah, the logo. Which one is that? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. So normally we will add a logo like Farhan mentioned. Oh, okay, thank you. So I'll be sent a logo, so I'll add that right after this. But right now you'll notice that on the design, there's quite a lot of elements. And as a personal preference, I think that designs with less elements actually convey messages better. And so we'll probably start eliminating some elements a little bit later on. So right now we're just gonna grab it over here to create some white space, and white space is basically space within your design that doesn't have anything. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is actually change this copy too. So we have Hackmafest, and what's Hackmafest? A hackathon, right? So let's think of something catchy. Do you guys have any ideas? Like, what can someone say that would really be like, oh my god, now I want to join and sign up for whatever this is? Like, for what would convince you? Do you guys have any ideas of what you want to write or type. Prizes. Okay, that's a great way of, yeah, that's a great approach. Talking about prizes is definitely a really great approach. How would we phrase it? Something like, sign up for a weekend. Oh no, signed up for a week of code. Okay, win amazing prizes. Okay, so let's frame around that. How can we convey like asking people to sign up for prizes and polish your skills, hack to the future? Okay, I kind of like that tagline. Okay, you have a tagline on the website. Let's see. Win awesome prizes, week long of learning. Okay, I love that. So let's say sign up for and if we want to change the font size, we click on the text, click on right here, and then select something. I'll probably go with something like 64. Sign up for a week long of learning and prizes. So we have the best of both worlds, I guess. And we gotta readjust this font as well. And now that we review it, this might be a little bit small. Too big. This might be a little bit big as well. And okay, this will probably be edited because I don't exactly know if I like how it looks right now. But we'll just go with it for now. Wait, actually, oh, by the way, so what I'm doing right now is I'm changing the line spacing, and the line spacing basically changes how far away it is from each line. And most fonts have default line spacing and most designs have default too, but you can actually play around with it to reduce the, to reduce the spacing. So right now there's way too many elements on the screen for me. Learn it, build it, win it. Okay, I like that a lot. Let's see if do we need to incorporate that? So I'm actually gonna move these elements out a little bit. I feel like there's too many things going on. We don't need this information because actually we can keep those texts, but we don't need this information. When's Hackmafest? Exactly, 25th of October. Okay, so 25th of October. And I'm actually going to, what I'm doing is I'm going to copy this and then I'll work on this copy and remove it right now. This elements will move down a little bit, somewhere here maybe. And what we want to do is basically think about the layout and how you want to place all of these elements. For me right now, I'm going to just try and achieve a symmetrical layout most likely, and we'll see what happens. So we have the date, and then let's do a quick thing about like some more information about this thing. So the way to change alignment within Canva would be you select an element and then you just click alignment. So you'll realize that like within Canva, a lot of things are super intuitive. This is very similar to how Google Docs or some other text document or document editor, okay, I'm not sure what the term is, works as well. So yeah, just you guys will probably know what to do. And I think one of its biggest selling points is its low learning curve. Okay, so let's talk about this. What should we type? So we have the 25th of October. Someone suggested learn it, build it, win it. I love that. Actually, I really like that. I'm gonna replace this right now and then type it right here. So sign up for a week of learning and amazing prizes such as X, Y, Z. And the reason I put that is because people generally like having solid examples. That's just something that I realized people prefer. I'm not sure, but that's just a quick thing. So let's put this right now, the learn it. And now what I'm trying to do is deciding what the best way of putting this message will be. And like this normally within like us as a personal preference within when doing like design and stuff like that, I prefer to have text that's almost equal in length. And this is obviously not, so going to try and experiment with this and see what the best way of doing it will be. But okay. No. Okay, I'm gonna go with this right now. You brainstorm the tagline for hours. That's awesome. Yeah, the taglines are really cool. Hack for the community. I love it. We can actually include taglines like down here. So right now, what I hope you'll realize is I personally feel like this is a little bit big. And the reason this is a little bit big is because it feels disjointed, like three different set of designs as opposed to designs that bleed into each other. So what I will try and do to fix it is one, reduce the font size of this, and maybe actually just remove this in general. And here's the alignment. All you have to do is slowly drag it across the page and wait for the lines to click into place. So then you'll see if you're centered, etc. Okay. Let's see. Okay, do we vibe with this design? I'm not sure. We'll have to see what we end up with right now. Okay, so here's another thing that I'm trying to do. I am creating two distinct sets of elements within the screen. First of all, we have this title, which I think we can actually make a little bit bigger. And the second part of it is actually the call to action, which is register now. And this register will probably be register at Hackmafest. Fest.tech. Okay. If you're creating your own designs, feel free to experiment with it. Like Canva is super versatile. You can build a ton of different things. And this is just an example of how you can start off with a template and really make it entirely your own and experiment with different things. Okay. So I want to actually bring attention to one other thing. So within design, there are a few things that like tips and tricks that can make a design feel more comfortable. And some of it is really just to do about with layout. So I think we have a general gist of what we want to say, but now we have to decide how do we want to make the design seem cohesive. The first thing I want to do is I don't really vibe with this sort of like design box style. I feel like it should be a little bit better spaced. And so I'm going to try and fix that by making this a little bit smaller and then changing this. And then probably making this a little bit longer and typing some other stuff. So we can realign this. I don't know. It looks too sparse now. Let's think. Okay. I'm going to, we can worry about the copy later, but let's try something else. Okay. Half the design. Yes, exactly. Yes, Anthony, you're so correct. I spent so much time just editing and editing and editing content so that it fits. But okay, so we're gonna, I think something like this is probably what we're gonna end up doing. So it has some sort of centralizedness within the design. I feel like these elements are a little bit bold and they take some attention away. So maybe we'll try fading it a little bit. Maybe not too much, but let's, okay. Yeah, we'll leave it at that right now. And then we'll move this up and align it. So you'll see that Canva's really helpful with these grids and different things going on. Actually, maybe one of the things we can try and do is if you actually select all of these texts together, you can change their color. So I'm going to actually try and change this thing so that it's actually white, because sometimes the color, oh yeah, this is much cleaner. So sometimes the color makes a really big difference. We want to change this, make it bold, so you can play around with the boldness, italics, alignment, etc. Super helpful. And oh, we can actually, let's play around with the effect as well right after this. Okay, cool. Crispy. Okay, so let's do this for designs. Right now, what you're seeing is actually just one color. So this is definitely a monochromatic design, but there are like different sort of stuffs. Okay, so let's do, what do you want to do next? Okay, yeah, let's talk about different effects. So effects are cool. We have shadow, lift, echo, slice, hollow, glitch, neon. All of them are super cool. I think glitch would look good, but I'm not sure entirely about it yet. But let's take a look at hollow. So hollow's a pretty like popular one to go with. You can change the thickness of all of this stuff and just really play around with it. And I love using hollow as something like a supplementary thing. So actually, let's try something else. Normal. Okay, a little bit of a lift, but let's try this with hollow. And then, yeah, so that's generally where I would personally put hollow, but you can experiment with different sort of things. But no, normally just if you have a fuller color, it leads to better contrast, which leads to like within visual hierarchy, that basically means that more attention is being focused upon it, and your user, not user, whoever is viewing the design will be attracted to it first. So that's just wanting to keep in mind when you're deciding like all these different effects as well. So one thing we actually haven't done is done the uploads and images. So what I'm gonna do is actually go to Discord and download that poster so that we can work through this. In the meantime, if you have any questions, drop in the chat. And I hope that you guys are following along okay. And learning a little bit of something. Canva is definitely like a really cool tool to utilize and just play around with, and super easy to get started on, because we made this design in I think 20 minutes maybe. I think that's like something that's very valuable. Okay, thank you for the logo. So now that I have the logo, I'm currently dragging it in. You see, one really good thing about Canva is if you want to drag and drop, you don't even need to actually go to the tab. Just drag it into this sidebar and then it will automatically load. So here's a cool tip with Canva. You can add something like a frame. So what you have to do is just come down to a frame. And now with a frame, I can decide where I want to put my thing and size it first, and then drag an image into it. Okay, I'm not sure where I want to put the okay, let's try something like this for now. We can play around with the size and other stuff soon. But okay, so now that we have a frame, we go to our uploads page again, we drag it and hover on top of the frame, and it basically like cuts it and crops it for you. And that's super, super helpful when you're creating a template. So let's see what we can do right now. Okay. I'm not sure I vibe with it. Okay, but let's, this should be, is there another way of like, I think that it's because of the color scheme, the logo seems like out of place, but maybe we can, let's change the color scheme and let's make it a little bit like darker, and let's see if we can make it greenish, I believe is the color of the logo. So one really important thing is like how well the like design itself blends with the images and stuff is also really important. But I believe it's actually something similar to this. And so let's take that as well. Okay. Not sure. And then we'll try and do a image. And Canva's really cool because it gives you these, oh, okay. I kind of like that. It gives you these photo colors, which is basically extracted from the image itself. So now this logo definitely blends a little bit better. We can do, I don't know if we still need this, but okay. Maybe we can add some binary digits. So if you go to elements right now, let's type binary. You probably get some stuff. Okay, so there's a pretty cool one, but that's paid. But let's see if we have some stuff that we can use. Scroll. So like you guys can see, there's actually a ton of really, really cool things here. There's different graphics and photos. Okay, let's try something else. Graphics. Okay. Oh, I kind of like this glasses, but I'm not sure how it will fit within the design, but those are pretty cool glasses. Okay, so let's change this to this, and then now we have something like this. Okay. Yes, now we vibrant. Cool. So like I'm not entirely sure. Actually, we can probably do a lot better than this, but I'm actually gonna leave it right now. I wanna kind of take a look and see what you guys have come up with, if you guys worked on anything. And let's take this session to maybe like answer a few other questions that you might have about Canva and some other different things that we want to cover. But I hope this was helpful. This is just a short, like quick introduction to what you can do. Actually, one other thing, if you have Canva Pro, you can actually do a background remover right here. Although you can go online and redo it, but it's just really, really simple. If you just click this background remover, and then now you just got like a logo that you can more easily embed within right here. So that's just a thing. There are different like elements and different stuff. So maybe we can do a quick recap of everything within Canva that we did today. First, we learned how to use a template. And so we started with something like this and ended up with this. And you're like, okay, but what do we actually get from it? Well, that's one of the beauty of Canva. It's just, you can really mutate things and make it your own. So we learned how to take templates and use it. And you can always change up your templates. They have really, really, really cool ones as well, and elements that are just like amazing, absolutely amazing. And then we also learned how to change fonts. So to change fonts, you just come up here and change the fonts, change the boldness, italics, and all the other stuff. You can also add your own text right here. So if there's something else I want to write, like maybe I want to add a quick text that says something like thank you. I can just click on here and now I have a text and I can edit it. We learn how to move elements, so we can just click around, drag, drop, etc. To select a ton of elements, you either just drag and select everything at once, or you can click shift and then click multiple elements. We learn how to change colors, which is when you click on an element and then you click on this thing right here if it's a text, and then it will change it. If the thing itself is not a text but an element, then you will click on here and then click on this color and change it. We learned how to change individual colors too. So we played around with this. Okay, cool. And then besides that, we also learned how to play around with opacity. So all you have to do is come up here, play around with this. We did a little bit of effects work stuff. You can actually also curve your thing, which is really helpful when that's what you're looking for. You can curve it depending on how you want to do, and it's really fun to play around with. That's something we didn't use today. And besides that, oh, we also learned how to import images within Canva. And yeah, okay. I think actually there's one more quick thing I want to cover. So that's cropping. And so within Canva, you can see that the frame that we just used was actually a thing that crops your images, but you can also crop anything else. So let's just take another example. So we have this image right here. I can crop it by double tapping on it. So what I have to do is basically double tap on the image and then crop it. Yeah, it's really that easy. And then the outer one is just to move image dimensions, and then the inner one is the actual cropping itself. So that's a thing that I wanted to mention that I forgot about. Yeah. Oh, and then here's a really cool thing. You can actually replace elements. Like if you have an image right here and you want to replace the image, right? Say we take this, we can actually drag it on top of it and then it replaces it right in the frame. So yeah, so Canva has a ton of really cool inbuilt things that just make designing super, super, super fast. Okay, I'm gonna stop screen sharing now. I hope y'all learned a little bit of something and enjoyed this. We are actually at the 1 hour mark, so I won't ask you guys to stop to like stay any longer. But if you guys did follow along and create your own designs, I would love for you guys to be able to jump on and share your screen and talk a little bit about it. If you have any questions about Canva, I'm happy to stay on for a few more, like 10 or 15 more minutes as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Belle. Just to let everyone know, you guys can share your screen and you can unmute yourselves as well, so you don't have to ask for permissions. As far as sharing goes, I guess I'll start. Full disclosure, I'm not a designer. I don't know how to design stuff, but this was the best shot that I had. So instead of focusing on designing, I was just playing with the animation. So this is just what I came up with in maybe 10 minutes. If you guys can see this.
Yes.
That's pretty much it.
Whoa, I love it. Yeah. Yeah, Canva's pretty good with animations too. So I think you definitely really just went on and made it your own. I think that's awesome. Okay, cool. Does anyone else have anything you want to share? Any designs? Where this is like a complete. Wait, actually, do you want to stop recording? Because I think this part is just gonna be going
Yeah, sure, hold
casual.
on.